This is Pilea peperomioides, okay, also known as the Chinese money plant, the sharing plant, the UFO plant. It goes by so many different names, the saucer-leaved plant, because of the very unusual design of the leaves. Let's take a look at this plant in more detail, talk about its growth care and culture, and then also we've got some pups, so I'll show you how to split and repot Pilea peperomioides. Okay, let's go. So since it's nice and warm today, you can see that the swallows are all going crazy up there, and we've had thunder and lightning, and it wasn't very frightening. See what I did there? Anyways, and I just decided, hey, let's sit outside and, you know, put it between my legs, guys, because it's so beautiful. Okay, now Pilea peperomioides, where is it from? It's from China. This plant is native to the foothills of the Himalayan mountains, okay, in this one of the two of the southern provinces in China. The one is Yunnan province, the other one I forget, one of the other provinces in China. What's quite interesting is that you can actually almost see the stomata on these leaves, funny enough, now that I'm seeing it. I'll try and show this to you. It looks like stomatal openings, which basically, if you don't know what stomata are, they are it's like nostrils on the underside of the plant's leaves. So plants generally have breathing holes, right, through which they breathe, and they're usually not visible to the human eye like the naked eye, but in this case I can pretty much see them, which is pretty cool. So yeah, let me show you that real quick. Actually, you can actually see the stomata, all these little, like, see those? Those are the openings, and the plant operates gaseous exchange through these little openings. Okay, there's some pollen on there from one of the other plants as well. Right, and you can see that I had it in the house, so it's still got dust on the leaves, probably cat hair. And you'll also notice that she has got quite a few little babas, little babies. There's about 1, 2, 3, 4 little babies in there, and then the mother plant. And along the mother plant's stem, I have noticed that there are some more little shoots coming off of that. Okay, anyways, let's see. If I told you that this plant, I mean, take a look at it, and if you know anything about other plants, like stinging nettles, for instance, would you believe that this is in the same family as the nettle family, the stinging nettles, Urticaeae? Very, very odd to me. But then, yeah, it's just very interesting to note that it is actually in the nettle family. It looks nothing like a nettle, anyways. Okay, so it's from China. It can be used as a house plant. This particular plant that I have here was actually used as a house plant. It's in my studio room in a north-facing window. So what that means for me in the southern hemisphere is that that is the hottest window. So it's the warmest position that I can give it. But it is shielded from direct sunlight. Okay, and that gets us into light. So in terms of light, you don't want the plant sitting in absolute blazing sunlight. You don't want it even catching direct sunlight. Maybe for, when I say that, I don't mean 10 minutes, 5 minutes is not going to harm the plant. If you have full sun passing over the plant very quickly, I don't think the plant's going to burn. But if you sat it in sunlight, it's going to get hurt. Okay, it does not appreciate low light, so if you're going to put it into low light, it's going to become leggy, kind of like a Venus flytrap when you keep it indoors without supplemented light. They tend to become quite leggy and just spindly and weak right? So in terms of light, it's quite important that you do give it bright, strong light, but not direct sunlight. Okay, cool. Now, next thing, soil. Soil for the plant is two things you need to keep in mind. It does not like boggy soil, so don't overwater it, okay? Don't give it tons of water, don't let it sit in water, and your growing medium needs to be free draining. Okay, so you can use a peat-based growing medium. I use a peat-based growing medium. You can use cocoa peat, or you could use sphagnum peat. I tend to use sphagnum peat. It doesn't really matter. I think the plant will be equally happy in either. As a base, the rest of it needs to have a bit of perlite, bit of river sand, a bit of compost, because it also needs nutrients, right? And sphagnum peat generally tends to be quite low in nutrients. That's pretty much it. Just one rule, really. Aside from the fact that we've talked about in soils, don't overwater the plant. Allow the plant to dry out between watering. So when you water it well, and then let it dry out. Like, think about when it rains. It rains for usually a whole day, or 2 days, or 3 days, or wherever you are, 4 days a week, right? Let's not get carried away with the watering. But water, and then allow it to stand and drain and dry out for a couple of days. Luckily, as with Spathiphyllum, this plant will actually kind of show you that it's unhappy and that it needs water, because it will begin to go flaccid. It will begin to droop. And when it droops, that's simply a signal for you to actually add some water and give the plant some water to drink. Okay. Right, then we move on to temperature and humidity. Now this is interesting, because in some of the research that I've done on this plant, it says that the plant can't deal with temperatures lower than 10 degrees, or doesn't really like it very much. For me, that has proven to be complete rubbish. And I'm not saying that it isn't. I mean that, that it's gonna be totally okay. I think it depends on where you are, but for me, it hasn't struggled, and the plant's gone down to 5 degrees, sometimes colder than that. At the very heart of winter, it's been outside at night, and it's been okay. So for me, 10 degrees is it's not really a thing. It ain't nothing but a chicken wing. I would on the side of caution when it comes to high temperatures, because obviously if it gets really super hot, like 32 degrees and above, and we're not talking about in a house, but inside in a garden sort of situation, then maybe the plant would suffer a little bit of heat exhaustion. Excuse me. It definitely will burn if it gets sunlight. I guarantee you of that, because it's happened to me. And then, yeah, humidity, great. It's sort of average on that. So temperature is average, about 20-22 degrees. Plant's okay, sort of optimum range. And then also humidity, roughly, I'd say we average out at about maybe between 60 and 70, sometimes 90% humidity. So our humidity is on the higher side. So I couldn't tell you how far down its humidity would go, but try and keep it at about 50 and above. Okay, and you should be totally fine. You can mist the plant, you can clean its leaves with lukewarm milk and water. It's a little recipe my mom always used when I was a kid. She would clean her plants with that, and a swab of cotton wool, and that really helps, gives the plant really nice shiny leaves, and I don't know. Yeah, so now we've done light, soil, water, temperature, and humidity. Pests. Let's talk about pests. It is a soft, look at it, right? Look at the plant. It's a really, really soft plant that can break very easily. It's got deliciously soft tissue, so I am sure, even though I've never seen it, I am certain that aphids would absolutely adore chewing and sucking the growing tips of this plant to the point of just dying or shriveling up and caving in on itself. Also mealybugs, I would say scale, definitely. You can kind of look at a plant and tell which insects the plant would either resist or be susceptible to, and in this case I think she is definitely a candidate for a lot of different pests. Though if you keep your garden clean as possible, then of course you're not going to have any of those issues. Okay, so if you do see any pests, then you'll have to manage them appropriately. So if it's spider mites, then yes. I just saw someone this morning, actually, while I was researching this, someone on Facebook actually had curled, gnarled leaves at the center, and that would be sometimes spider mites, especially if you see little webs over the gnarled leaf. Yellowing leaves would obviously, yellowing leaves at the very tip would imply generally overwatering for this plant, and drying from the outer edges in would be a lack of humidity, and could also be a lack of water, depending on other characteristics that the plant, or sort of behavioral traits that the plant displays at that particular point in time. Okay, so that's pretty much that. Now let's get into repotting this lovely little lady, because I'd like to take her home today and I'd like to make some more of her. So let's get into that. Okay. So by the way guys, sorry if it's so loud. I mean, the traffic is insane today out on the highway, distance away from here. But anyways, so this is a 12 centimeter pot. Okay, so this is a very tiny little pot, and I need to upsize its pot and then give the individual pups that you see right there their own pots as well. Okay, so first and foremost, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my growing medium and I'm going to free the plant up out of its pot and prepare the pots for the little pups that we're going to sever, as well as the mother plant's pot. Okay, so I'm going to bump this pot up to a 15 centimeter. I could essentially go quite a bit bigger, but I don't want to, because I don't want, you know, this scrawny small little plant. I mean, it's given me 4 babies in a matter of months in a really small 12 centimeter pot, and I'm happy with that. So if you want to go bigger, you can, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go slightly bigger. For the other pot, for the babies, I will start them off on a 15 centimeter pot, which is bigger than this. Okay, so let me come back with my growing medium and everything else. Right, so this is my growing medium that I've put together. You can see that it is peat based. It's got 3 pots peat, 2 pots perlite, 1 pot vermiculite, and 2 pots compost. Okay, and then as a substitute for some more nutrients, I am going to add some controlled release pellets. Okay, right. Okay, so in terms of my pot for the mother plant, I'm going to use a nice 15 centimeter pot. So just for size that you can see, the pot is substantially bigger, but not too much bigger. And I will use the same size pot for the babies as well, just to get them started, and they can then kind of stay in that pot and reproduce vegetatively. Okay. So firstly, what am I going to do? I am going to take the plant out of its pot very carefully without damaging any of the roots. So what I've done is I've just kind of like squeezed the pot, and it's okay. Look, if you break some leaves, it's okay, right? Just in case I do break some leaves. There you can see healthy, good, healthy, strong root system. It's got quite a few babies going in, trailing off in other directions as well. So yeah, so that's that. Stanley cats. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my very sharp knife, which is down here. Sorry, I'm trying to do this with one hand whilst filming. And I am literally just going to go in there. Let's just see where it's coming from first before I just go and cut like a banana. Okay, there we go. That's one. I'm going to take that one out. It just kind of snapped off of it quite easily. That one as well. It's got roots of its own already, which is probably what I should have checked beforehand. But, you know. There we go. That's another. I know it probably look like I'm being a bit aggressive, but whoops. There we go. Okay, so that's 4 little babies. Now, that's the soil that I used before. You can see instead of perlite, I had quite a bit of silica sand, and that was great. The plant loved it. So this time I'm going to use perlite though. Okay, so all I do now is I'll get its new pot. Okay, I'll get my little container, my scooping container, and I will fill some growing medium into the pot, about maybe almost 2/3 of the way, and then I will lift her, place her into her new home. This actually looks a bit small, to be honest. Maybe I should have gone a bit bigger. But nevertheless, I'll just repot it if the time comes again. I'm just going to keep some of our old soil because it's still pretty good. And then I will just tap it down with my fingers. And then what I'm going to do is just fill in all of the open spaces with some more, okay, of the new medium. So this will settle, and the plant will be totally fine in its new pot. You can stake it up. Look, that's because it's been sitting at the window. One thing I did forget to mention is rotate your plant every now and then. So if the window's on this side, right, the plant's going to lean. Let's just back up. If the window's on this end here, sunlight's coming in this way, the plant's going to lean in that direction to sort of capitalize on the sunlight, right? So then all you do is every week or so you turn it away, and the plant will then go whoop, and it will try and be upright and then center itself, and then eventually it will kind of lean back that way again. So you're just going to kind of have to do that quite regularly, if that bothers you. Okay, so that is in. There we go. And that looks really good to me. So that's that one. Now you'll see that pot is actually quite dirty, but it's okay, I don't mind. This whole thing about the plant getting diseases, it's not in a greenhouse environment where diseases are prolific generally. Just gonna top it up like that, straighten it. I really am sorry about my hand, guys. I didn't bring my other camera with me today, so I can't mount it anyway. Okay, that's that. And I will probably just put a layer of vermiculite over this, just for my own sanity, just because I like doing that. It helps me to regulate the watering in my own mind. It may not make sense to any of y'all, but that one, that's the first pup. Okay, so then we're gonna do the second one. Okay. Go. Stunning. It's quite a cute little thing. I sort of, I found this plant quite a while back and I hesitated to purchase it because I just kind of thought like, oh, do I really want peperomioides? Now I'm kind of happy I did go through with buying it because it's a lovely little thing. Okay, there we go. It will now branch out from the rest of that little root ball that it has. Okay, good. And then I think the last little baby I will put in its original old pot. Okay, just this one here. Which is also good because I'm kind of running out of growing medium here. Okay, that can go there, and that can go in there. Okay, and we'll just put that one there, like so. Okay, and I will definitely be using all of the rest of everything in here and everything in this bucket. Like that. Knife out. And in it goes. Whoops. Guys, I need to make more videos because, jeez, my camera work is so shoddy. So shoddy. There we go. I think we need just a little bit more soil in here, and I'll top them up with vermiculite as well. So let me do that and we'll come back for the next bit. Okay, so what I have done as well is I wanted to show you, I just added some controlled release fertilizer pellets to the upper surface of the pots. This is already mixed in there somewhere. There's some more back there, and you can see them right there, and in that pot as well. Okay, so once that's done, I'll now just cover them over with a bit of vermiculite. Okay, and then just give it a good shake so it evens it out. Another one. And here comes the rain, just in time. Okay, that's good. And this one, that one, and the mother. You don't have to do this, guys. I just like doing it with my plants. It also just helps you to know when to water your plant, for me. Because right now, you can see it needs water, right? Because it's all fluffy and all, like, yeah, fluffy. What other word can I use? It's fluffy. Great. Okay, so now I'm going to water it really deeply, very well. And since it's peat paste, what I always like to do is, if you watch any of my other videos and I do use sphagnum peat, I generally allow the plant to stand in water. I will tell you when that's not a good idea, but I will do this for these as well, just for maybe overnight, and then tomorrow they'll have to start draining and go back to watching the water intake like all the rest of the plants. Okay. Right, so that is that. I'm not going to water them on camera because it's starting to rain, and what better way to get them wet than to put them out in the rain. So let's go do that. Ooh, let's hope I don't drop this. Okay, I'll put them by the pond. And hopefully it'll rain all over them. There we go. Great. You can see the water's actually starting to fall on the surface of the pond, so it is in fact beginning to rain. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did filming it, and I hope that you learnt something out of this and that you'll be able to keep your peperomioides super happy and growing really strongly. Cool. I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye for now.